You already know what time it is, time it is, time it is. I don't gotta tell you what time it is, time it is. It's the Homesick Lonewolf podcast coming at ya. We're live. Greetings, friends and family. I just want to welcome you to the Homesick Lonewolf podcast. We're keeping it real out here in Boise, Idaho, America. We're still on lockdown. We're still dealing with the coronavirus. We're still dealing with a pandemic. We have a crisis on our hands, people. Everyone is hanging in there. Everybody's hanging in there. We're doing what we can. We're trying to build. We're trying to stay healthy. We're trying to avoid stress. Stress is going to murder your immune system. Stress is going to make you weak. Stress is going to deteriorate your health, take your mind and your focus off of everything else. It's like putting all your energy and focus into something you can't really fight. We're focusing on the things that we can change and we can control. And that sometimes means looking in your immediate environment, in your immediate surroundings. So I advise you to just kind of focus on what you can control, focus on what you can make better. Just kind of come down to earth, put your feet on solid ground, think about your environment and your life and your immediate world, how you can better it. Look around, find something in chaos, find a mess, and make yourself useful, and just bring a little order here and there. It could just be dusting your fucking living room or cleaning your bedroom. So we're dealing with coronavirus right now. I'm going to jump back into the storyline because I will just go off about all kinds of random stuff on these current issues happening. Just a lot has come to light and a lot has surfaced. A lot is being exposed right now. But hey, check it out. I'm jumping into the story. Here we go. We're back in Durango, Colorado, people. We just got out of Fort Collins. We just got out of Denver. We went from Durango to Baltimore to Denver to Fort Collins and then back to Durango. We made this huge loop. And I can remember back then, I was just searching for a utopia, man. I was just constantly moving, running from myself, not facing anything. Not staying put and dealing with things, not facing challenges head on, and not really in this learning mode. I still hadn't turned the curve yet. I wasn't climbing up the mountain yet. I think I was still going down the mountain at this point, but it felt like I was going up. I had thought I reached my bottom and that was the bottom, but no, there were going to be some more challenges. So I'm back in Durango. I'm moving all over the place. I'm just being compulsive. Everywhere I move, I'm sad. I'm depressed. I don't know anybody. It's not exciting. There's no opportunity. Everywhere I went, I still had this bad attitude, and I was toxic, man. I was slowly becoming toxic. Check this shit out, man. God damn it. I go to Durango, finally. After all this moving around, I moved out to Baltimore to follow an ex-girlfriend and ask her if she wanted to fix things. And of course, I thought she'd say yes, but of course it was a no. So I'm in this wreck. I go to Denver. I'm a total mess. I cannot stand on my feet. I cannot get a job. I can't survive in Denver. I did this walking around Denver thing and trying to survive, and in Fort Collins, but I just walked around these towns and these cities, just walked around, no plans, no goals, just existing. This was the point where I had to detach from all the pain and suffering that was being caused just because I wanted things. I desired things. I desired a better life. I desired a good job. I wanted a higher quality of life, but I wasn't addressing the underlying issues. I wasn't going inside to fix those things. And lots of music, lots of Bob Dylan, lots of Led Zeppelin, lots of metal. The metal definitely kept me going. It was this point there in Fort Collins where I was able to just detach from everything that I thought I was. I was able to detach from the city life and the bigger, faster, stronger, me, rat race. I was just able to disconnect and turn all that off all of a sudden. Because I had limited options. I had limited resources, limited opportunity, and I had to kind of shrink my world and just survive and focus on what I had the ability to change. I think this is the first time in my life where I actually surrendered to nature and kind of just went with the flow and gave up on every ambition, goal, dream that I had. This is definitely the first time in my life where it was just consciousness and it was just me. And all the other stuff went away. Everything the world told me went away. The person I was to the world went away. The rock and roller, the drummer, the aspiring chef, whatever the case, whoever I told myself I was, everything was dissolved. I was just an explorer. And I had to stay mindful because you can make yourself very anxious if you're just coming up with these problems in your head that aren't even there. They don't exist. These problems don't exist, but we can make them exist. Our brains are very powerful. Our minds are very powerful. Part of this life, part of this journey is learning to use your mind. And this was just my chance to wander and walk and listen to music and admire nature and just exist. Everything went away, man. Trying to survive at this point. I was just trying to eat, trying to find a place to stay. Literally just wandering, but it helped me detach from a lot. I was just wandering and just existing. I didn't have any goals. I didn't have any big adventure I was really after, but I was out. I remember being grateful that I was just out in the world. I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going. I had a backpack with clothes, and that was it. And I felt okay because I was out of my hometown. I wasn't sitting around in a dark room, drinking with the same old people, talking about the same old stuff. I was out in the world, and I was on an adventure. I didn't have anyone to call and save me. I didn't have anybody to call and give me a ride. Nobody to stay with. It was survival. I had to meet people and converse with them and talk with them. And I had to somehow represent and tell them and explain my situations while also showing them that I'm a kind, not violent, not crazy. You have to converse with people and get to know them and let them know who you truly really are. And usually they'll help you out if you're coming from a place of truth and honesty. I get out of Fort Collins and I'm back in Durango. I work at Old Timers, good times. Go over to Steamworks, great times. That's when it really starts right there, man. When I moved over to Steamworks, kind of decided, well, hey, this place is crazy, gnarly busy, and it's taking a lot of my attention and focus. So maybe I can just jump into this restaurant, go full speed, and it'll help me not focus on my mistakes, and it'll help me not focus on the past, not focus on my behavior and my issues. I'll just be so busy, I won't be able to think about it. And I also was like, hey, this place is busy, and it's a giant restaurant, so maybe I'll learn a lot here. Maybe I need to just be open and start building. If I pay attention now, I could be a pretty knowledgeable, skillful chef in the future. But somehow I was able to push some things away and mentally focus on my career. I was able to focus somehow on watering this seed that I had planted of becoming a hard worker and working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and just giving it all I got all day and being there for other people that work there, helping everybody around me. And just being a hard worker and working for everything that I had. And it really made me appreciate the paychecks. It made me appreciate the employee meals, just getting fed, and the paychecks. Just awesome. It was so great, and it was so rewarding. And oh, wow, just able to do so much. I was able to do a lot. I was able to take care of myself and buy clothes. I was able to get into an apartment. Finally, it was so awesome. I just busted my ass and worked so hard for like 4 or 5 months straight. Couch surfing, staying with friends, staying in hotels. Finally get into an apartment. It's so trippy. It was off 32nd up on Florida, I think. But yeah, it was a crazy cool little apartment. And I had not ever signed a lease. I had never really had a place like this. So it was really cool. I just worked my ass off. And I was just homeless for so long. And I was just wandering for so long. And I got to Durango and I was able to focus and just work. And I was able to get an apartment and get myself off the streets, man, and into something a little more comfortable, something a little more legit, little higher quality of life. I wasn't thinking too much about that, like making steps to go forward. I wasn't thinking too much about building back then. I was definitely dealing with some kind of anxiety or some kind of... We all get it when we're young. We have this pull. We get a pull. There's an energy that pulls us towards the party, and we're young. We want to be downtown, and we want to be in the limelight, and we want to be at the most popular place. We want to be at the biggest party. We want to be at the bar that's cranking and has all of our friends there, and we want to converse with people and smile and show them our outfit, tell stories, and have drinks. So I was dealing with that, just kind of this pull after work. It was like, oh man, yeah, that was crazy. It was so busy, so stressful. We kicked a lot of ass. We made it happen. Look, yeah, we have all this energy. We're all riled up. And then we go sit at the bar, and they're like, yeah, great job today, gentlemen. Great job today. Here's some free booze. That's the thing about working at restaurants. There's not much extra cash happening. There's a lot of alcohol. You get rewarded with alcohol. You get rewarded with credit at the bar. And we're young people. All we need is food and alcohol, and we'll keep moving forward. So yeah, they would just throw us food and beer, and that kept everybody chasing their tail for sure. When I first started there at Steamworks, I had this new, fresh outlook on life because I had just wandered around Denver and Fort Collins, and I felt like I went to the edge of existence. I felt like I went to the edge of everything, realized what was important, and realized that I needed to make some moves, and I needed to believe in myself, and I had to build somehow. I had to stay put and build and change some things and work hard. I didn't want to be like that. I met so many homeless people when I was exploring and traveling. I met way too many unstable people. And I met way too many bitter, angry people that had given up on their dreams and given up on the world. I didn't want to end up like that. I didn't want to be one of those drunk, homeless people that's just talking about the things they used to do and talking about the old days all the time and talking about, oh, I used to do this. I used to do that. Yeah, I used to do this. Oh, I used to love doing that. I didn't want to become one of those people. I didn't want to be responsible yet. I still was in the middle there where I wanted to party. I was still like, oh, I'm young. My girlfriend left me last winter, so I need to find a new girlfriend. I can work my ass off and work really hard and meet people here. I'll get money, I'll get food, and I'll get human interaction. I'll get some training, and I'll get to learn a lot while I'm here in this kitchen with these people. I first get over there, and it was intimidating at first. I believe I started in like April or May, so things were starting to get busy. Durango's a huge tourist town, especially in the summertime. It's just an amazing place. There's something about the fresh air, the colors, and the way the light, the sunlight, interacts and bounces off of all the plants and everything there in Colorado, and the water and the river. It's just beautiful. It's an amazing, magical place, and I was really excited to be back for the summer. So I have this energy for sure. I was excited. I wanted to see people. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to party. I wanted to party and drink. I was trying to find the old times where we were with, it was the band and the skateboarding crew, my brothers, Steven, Ben, Andy, all the homies, my brother Jim. I was trying to find that happiness again. I was trying to find that euphoria and utopia that we had back then, where we didn't care and we were all together and nothing else mattered. None of our problems mattered because we had each other and we were just down for life. We were just celebrating life. But all of a sudden your friends leave, the party leaves, and the influences are gone, and then you're left alone to figure yourself out. You're left alone to find out who you really are without your friends and other influences around, and I just didn't know what to do. And I think I partied a lot, and I met a lot of really awesome people there. I first came in, and I was pretty anxious. It was very busy. It was a very busy kitchen, very busy restaurant, very intimidating, and about 12 or 11 cooks at once. So it's an open kitchen, and the customers can see, and we can see them, and they can look in the kitchen and everything, and there's just so much action in that kitchen. It's huge. A very high-stress situation. Very high-stress environment. At first, I didn't really get along with some of the guys in the kitchen. I came in, I was just this very positive, smiling person. I was pretty excited and positive about things. I was just grateful that I had gotten back to something kind of normal and something kind of productive. The workforce, I was working, I had a apartment. I was trying to manage all of this. I was trying to climb the ladder. I was trying to go up all of a sudden. I didn't care about that for a long time. But now I was in a place, now I had the opportunity to work my ass off and focus and build something. And I get in there and I'm just butting heads with all these cooks. I'm butting heads with all these guys. And a lot of these cooks in there are my age. A lot of people are younger, 5 to 6, 7 years younger to 5 to 10 years older. So I was kind of right in the middle there. But I knew a couple people. Because I had grown up in Durango. And there were a couple friends that worked there. Good people. But still, when you get into a new place of work, especially in kitchens where there's a bunch of testosterone and there's a hierarchy and there's a bunch of angry alphas, then there's a bunch of angry, bummed out betas. Oh man, just this clash of personalities and everybody trying to be the biggest, baddest person there. Everybody was the man. Everyone wanted to be the boss. Everybody was the toughest guy there. And I had all this experience, so they started me on sauté first. Usually they start the new guys on pizza side. But I had all this experience, so they started me on sauté. Right away, a few of the guys were kind of put off by me and kind of bummed out and felt threatened. They felt like their job was threatened because of me. And I went in and I started to evolve, I started to adapt, and I started to use the anxiety, and I started to use the uncomfortable situations and the not getting along with coworkers. I started to use all that as fuel. I started to use it to push me forward and push through things. I tapped into that and I used it, and I said, I'm just going to do my job plus theirs, and I'm going to do it perfect. Then I'm going to move forward and knock out the next objective. I'm not going to sit around and internalize things and get discouraged. And I'm not going to let these people's unprofessional behavior drive me out of here. Because I was just unemployed the whole winter, and I was just at the edge of my life, the edge of existence. And here I am, I have a chance to build something, and I needed to fix that problem. How if I ran into something or somebody was disrespectful, I would leave, I would quit. That guy disrespected me, I quit. I had to calm down. I had to learn all these new tricks with my mind and with my emotions and my behavior and how I reacted to things. I had to remember where I came from and where I'm going, and that I'm building for a better life. It really pissed me off. A lot of these people, a lot of the guys there were just super privileged. They were really privileged kids. They went to school there at Fort Lewis or whatever and just decided to stay in Durango. A lot of the people there had never been on their own, and they hadn't ever lived in a gnarly, violent city. A lot of them had not been out of their comfort zone. So a lot of them, to me, were kind of like, they were just big kids to me. A lot of those people, a lot of the managers, a lot of the bosses, a lot of the lower ends of the hierarchy, a lot of them were just 15-year-olds stuck in 30-year-old bodies. And a lot of these guys complained. They were always complaining about the work they had to do, about the adjustments they had to make. A lot of them would blame. They were always blaming somebody else or blaming the new guy. A lot of excuses, coming up with excuses. I had to learn to put aside the childish behavior and the immature comments and the passive-aggressive remarks, push through all of that and get the objective done. And I was focused on learning also. I was trying to learn, and I was trying to prove myself too. I was very uncomfortable at first in that kitchen. There were some very welcoming people, but there were also a lot of guys that were like, I'm the boss. I'm the fucking man. I've been here longer. You got to do what I say. This place is crazy, and it'll eat you up. This place is a grinder, and it'll fucking grind you, brother. I adapted. I just tried to learn everything I could, And after work, we would drink. We would hang out and drink. A lot of us would chill at the bar and drink, get to know each other, have some fun. And that helped a little bit with the camaraderie and the building relationships. If something bothered you in the kitchen that night, you could hang out and have some beers and get it out in the open and talk about it and maybe squash some things. That was a big thing with going out and drinking with these guys, is we were able to squash a lot of beef and a lot of feelings and bitterness towards each other, and just really getting to know one another too. And I had to show them and tell them and prove myself too that I had my eye on the prize and that I wasn't going to settle for less and that we were going to win. We were going to take care of business, and I would do anything for the guy next to me. Whatever my boss needed, I needed. Whatever the crew needed, I needed. And just slowly started to build this relationship with all these guys. And some of them I still consider my brothers. Some of them are just the most amazing people I've ever met. And then, of course, with life, there is balance. So I met a lot of selfish, self-absorbed, self-serving motherfuckers. So many assholes there. Again, I maybe it's the place that we live in. Maybe it's because it's in Durango, Colorado, and these people don't really have to stress or suffer or struggle ever. So everybody was kind of this, it had this vibe. Durango Colorado in general can have this vibe where it's like everybody thinks they're young and hot and sexy and they want to party, and everyone wants to be the center of attention. It's like Neverland in a lot of respects. In a lot of ways, it's like Neverland. I definitely had the Peter Pan problem going on. I didn't want to let go of my youth. I was young. I wanted to party. I wanted to have an awesome girlfriend and have an awesome job and an apartment. And just these little things that people take for granted, man. I just wanted some kind of like a little better quality of life. I decided to just work my ass off for it. Like all of a sudden, I'm thinking and I'm like, wow, I haven't taken any pills. I haven't taken any pain pills in about 7 months. I think about things and wow, I was just drinking for the last 7 months and not thinking about pills. I couldn't get any when I was traveling, when I was wandering, when I was exploring. That kind of went away, and I was just basically more into booze because it was more accessible and it was legal, always around. So inadvertently, I kind of quit pills, and I was working at Steamworks, and I thought that in my mind too. In the back of my mind, I was always like, almost like I was telling myself it was okay. Oh, it's cool. You've gone 7 months without taking pharmaceuticals or pain pills. Drinking is okay. It's fine if you drink. And it's just something that society makes us believe. It's this trick that society is telling us alcohol is okay because it's legal. And again, with the restaurants and working in kitchens, you do something good. You work for 14 hours in a day, and you get maybe a thank you, great job, and a cup of beer. In this environment, your rewards are usually alcohol. Just trying to get along with these people I worked with and trying to build these relationships and everything. And just that drive to be at the party after work, that pull towards the party. Wanting to be with your friends in the sunshine, drinking, talking about things, shooting the shit, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, chain smoking cigarettes. Just a life of cheap, temporary thrills and pleasures. And it all leaves you. There wasn't much building or thinking about the future. There wasn't much preparation or long-term thinking or planning or any of this. It was really just day to day and just getting through the shift. This restaurant was the busiest in town, the busiest restaurant in Durango. So it was very high stress. But again, we didn't have any healthy outlets or any good direction. Everybody that was above the cooks, all of our management, all of our bosses, they'd be at the bar drinking too. And of course, just backing up and just totally getting in there after work and conversing and building that camaraderie and getting to know each other and building a trust also within the team. I had to really open up to these guys and really tell them about my past, and I had to get on their side. I had to earn their trust. I can understand. I imagine a restaurant like that goes through so many employees, I'm sure they just saw so many kids come in there with shit attitudes and then work for 2 days or a day and then just disappear. So at first, yes, it was very intimidating, and a lot of these guys didn't. Some of them were friendly, but some of them were doing the whole alpha male thing, and they were the tough guy of the kitchen. And as the new guy, man, they just put me through a little bit. There was quite a bit they would throw at me. But again, I just tried to use that anxiety and that uncomfortable feeling. I tried to use it as fuel. And I was just thinking, I'm going to work harder than all of these guys. I'm going to rise to the top at all cost. And I'm just going to work circles around these kids. They can talk shit. They can get involved with the drama and the politics and stuff like that. He said, she said, small talk, the low frequency drama, while I climbed the ladder and while I focused on becoming a better cook and becoming a better employee and just trying to establish discipline in my life and trying to establish a really strong, healthy work ethic. I had it when I worked at Carver's. It was there. I'm capable of it. But going through that winter in Denver and Fort Collins and going out to Baltimore and leaving with my tail between my legs, a total feeling of failure, going back and trying to fix things, going back and trying to finally focus on work and building and trying to make myself useful and trying to become skillful at something. Just being involved in the community, being involved at a restaurant or whatever the case, being part of the workforce, things of that nature. Yeah, after wandering for a couple months and just seriously scraping by and being homeless and really not knowing where I'm going to sleep or if I'm going to eat tomorrow, going from that, going to Steamworks, going back to Durango and making these good paychecks, I was able to get into an apartment, and it was super awesome. I'm still not drumming at this point. This is just seriously right in the middle of where I could not drum. I couldn't get a drum set. I couldn't get my act together. I couldn't stay still in one place so I could go back to music. So this is probably into a year. It's been about a year since I've had a drum set and been able to play. At this point in the story, kind of forgot about music. At this point forgot about music, and I was getting more into cooking. I kind of realized that cooking was pretty exciting. Being at the restaurant on a Friday, Saturday night is pretty exciting. There's a lot of energy, and we're going to party afterwards. You can believe that. It became this good time for sure, and it's really awesome when you can be excited to go to work, and when you can wake up and get pumped and get excited and be grateful that you're going in for a shift. There's going to be good people there. There's good energy there. It's going to be fun. And we're going to rise to the challenge, and we're going to handle business. And yeah, it gets dangerous. There's a lot of fire. There's knives. There's different personalities. There's people that are angry and hungover. There's people that are tired because they've been there all day. And there were a few times I just wanted to walk out of that kitchen, but the more I hung in there and stayed with it, I pushed through. I learned new moves. I learned new methods. I learned new skills. Pretty soon, I built this confidence that I never had before. And it was just this confidence in myself that no matter what the hell happens on this shift, we've been through it and I'm going to get us through it. So I had never really had this, but I was developing this really good work ethic by being at Steamworks. Just how busy that place was. And there's always people around. There's always friends walking by. All kinds of good people always walking by the kitchen, saying hello and stopping by to visit. And it gets insane in that kitchen. It gets intense. A lot of these guys were definitely turning to cocaine. I've probably tried cocaine maybe 5 times in my life. Never got into it. It was kind of a worthless bullshit type of thing, man. It was just a cheap, weird thing to me. Like, why would I want to be anxious? This is going to make me hyped up and crazy and anxious. I'm not into that. I need something to calm me the fuck down. So I never really got into that. But I have seen, and since then, I've seen a lot of cooks and a lot of chefs turn to cocaine because they think it's going to give them the edge. They think it's going to make them better and more powerful. But that's just an illusion, and that's just bullshit. Because I have seen in my 15 years in the kitchen, I have seen cocaine just destroy people's minds and their skill set and their personalities. It just destroys them. It seems like it takes big chunks out of their brain. They just stop performing as good. And they stop caring about the little things that they always cared about. Those 300 to 1,000 small detailed things you do. Those things go away. And you're just kind of having problems flowing. And you can't really get into these alpha wave brain states. And you're not really connecting. You're not really connected well. And you're not flowing with the people around you. You're just kind of in your own world. So yeah, I never got into that. For a lot of these guys, for the most part, I just stuck to the alcohol and lots of weed. I told myself, oh man, these guys are doing cocaine? Crazy. I'm just on alcohol, so I must not be that bad. Or, we look at somebody on meth and we say to ourselves, oh man, I'm glad I just drink. But we can't be doing that. I mean, it's still self-destructive. It's still not loving yourself. And it's still numbing out. And alcohol, pills, all that shit is going to numb out the good stuff as well. You can't just drink and tell the alcohol to numb out the bad stuff. It's going to take the good stuff too. So you're just drinking for months on end. All of a sudden, you're not growing or making any progress. You're still the same person you were last year. You're still in the same place, making the same choices, with the same habits and the same mindset. It's like my focus was not on growing or evolving. I wasn't looking for these things yet. I felt like I wasn't really out of the woods yet with addiction. And in the back of my mind, I always knew I would return to opiates. And I didn't know when. I always tried to focus and not go down that road or not think about it too much. I got into this apartment finally. It was like the first lease I ever signed and everything. Just over $1,000 a month. 2-bedroom apartment up Florida 32nd area in Durango, Colorado there. So that was really cool. That was a trip. So now I have a pretty good job. I'm getting hours. I'm making good paychecks. And now I'm into an apartment. And I had to find a roommate. Wouldn't you know it? I had a really, really good friend, Sam Downey Jr., we called him. He looks a little bit like Robert Downey if Downey Jr. was a bass player in a Grateful Dead cover band. Sam's a great dude, played in a band together before, a couple years prior to this. So I run into Sam, I'm back in town. Sam's, oh man, dude, let's hang out. We hang out, we talk. He needs a place to stay. I'm like, cool man, you should totally move in with me. Running into Sam, we talk about things. Dude, you're awesome. This would be so great to live together. So Sam moves in with me, and I'm working at Steamworks, still doing that thing. It's just kind of the same every day. It's like work for 9 hours and then get trashed with everybody afterwards. Still no intention to get a drum set, not really focusing on music still, and kind of getting into this weird materialistic mindset because all of a sudden I wasn't on the streets and I wasn't in survival mode only. I was working hard. I was getting decent paychecks. I was eating. I was interacting with people. But I still didn't have any kind of healthy outlet. I still wasn't being creative or artistic. I think I was just locked into the kitchen. I had all this muscle memory down, and I could go in and just flow for 10 hours and just get everything done. People definitely started to take advantage of me at work. They're like, oh, Smiley will get it. Oh, just have Smiley do it. When I first started, I was just super excited, and I was grateful to have a job. After going the whole winter and going through poverty and uncertainty and hunger, having to go without so much, and just being okay with minimal with what I had, and being okay with nothing and no options and no money, to finally getting decent paychecks every 2 weeks. I'm getting these paychecks, but I'm still working, so I'm not really spending it on anything except going out and drinking and spending money on lots of weed and alcohol. So I'm living with Sam. Things are cool there. We totally could have talked about playing music together. We totally could have encouraged each other to play music. This is definitely a little area or chapter when I became a little materialistic. I was getting these paychecks. I was finally getting a little better quality of life. Things were changing. Things were so different. I was involved in my community. I was involved with the workforce and interacting with people, and it was healthy. It was great. But I still wasn't looking to change. I wasn't looking to evolve or anything. There were some pretty encouraging, pretty positive mentors there at Steamworks for sure. Brandon and Derek, they were the main cooks, the main chefs, and those two really taught me a lot, and they really helped me look at myself and look at my behavior. They helped me try to mature and develop into more of a leader and more of a better, hardworking, composed person. Sam and I are hanging out, and we get him moved in and everything, and he is staying up all night. He's on probation for some shit, and I'm partying every night. I'm hanging out with girls. I'm hanging out with friends. I'm having a blast. I start listening to, like, a little more rap. I start to listen to not metal all the time. I'm having a good time. I'm living it up. Just alcohol for me and weed. I start to come home and Sam is up all night. So all night Sam is staying up playing video games. I'm like, that's pretty crazy, all right? So he has a huge flat screen TV in the living room. I come home one day and it's in his room, and I'm like, hey, what's up? He was saying how he's super into this new video game and he can't stop playing it. I'm like, wow, that's kind of silly, but okay. I go to work, I come back one day, and all his stuff is gone. All his stuff's gone, and he hasn't talked to me or anything. And I get home, and he's gone, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to pay for this place by myself. Where is Sam? What happened? I get a hold of him, and he says this. Sorry, man, I had to move. I have a problem with bath salts. I'm unable to sleep. It's really messing with my mind, and I just thought I had to get out of there, man. I just needed to get away. I had to get out of there. So I was super disappointed, but really shocked, too, because here I am in this alcohol addiction, thinking that it's all good and it's all cool because there's people like that are worse off. I didn't think too much of it, but then I kind of researched the bath salt scene, and it was kind of this thing. At this point in time, bath salts, I believe, were being sold at smoke shops. Very bad, very insane for you. So needless to say, he was hanging out with some pretty sketchy people, and he got into bath salts and just became a really sketchy mother cousin. So the friend I used to know was gone forever. Sam was a completely different person now that he had found this substance. He had gotten into this shit. It made him skinny. It made him look like he hadn't slept in a month. He was pale. He was just unhealthy, mumbling, couldn't really talk. Unbelievable. I didn't talk to him for a while after that. I really think he just kind of disappeared. I did run into him again, but it was maybe 3 years later. But anyways, I'm in this apartment. I got to get a new roommate because Sam bailed on me. I'm working at Steamworks. Things are okay there, but I'm drinking quite a bit. Not really making any huge goals, not really making any big changes in my life. I'm off the streets. I'm making money, so that's different. And I didn't know how to save money either. I didn't know how to put it away. I didn't know how to invest, get a paycheck and say, cool, I could probably party for 4 days on this. And it was just all about going out with friends, having these awesome parties after work. Nothing real, nothing true. Again, it was just like the Peter Pan story, and we're just all these young men that don't want to grow up. We're in this town where everybody honestly just acts like children. Everybody there just seems to think they can be the 15-year-old them forever. There's no real growth or like, I don't know, man, just nothing to be proud about. So I'm trying to find a new roommate. I find my friend Jake Kramer. Jake Kramer is working at Steamworks right now. I tell him I have a room open and available. We start talking, and I get Jake Kramer into my apartment. So he's got the spare room now. I'm living with Jake Kramer. We went to a charter school together when we were in elementary school, and now we're like both 25, 24, 26, something like that. And I didn't know, but Jake was battling a pretty intense heroin addiction on top of alcohol. I guess I didn't know, But yeah, I let him move in, and he's living with me. I didn't know he was into heroin at that time. I thought he was just drinking and smoking like me. So I'm like, yeah, for sure, man. Let's have some fun. Let's link up and party and live together. Sounds great. I didn't know that he was in that dark dimension. I didn't know where he was. Wow. It just got pretty interesting after that. Living with Jake was very interesting. I hadn't interacted with Jake or seen him in years since we were in school together. So it was really awesome to see him. It was good to hang out with him and great to live with him for a second. And him and I kind of got along. Him and I were both kind of these little stoner white kids that just kind of chilled and did our thing and got through. I didn't know he was in that dark dimension. I didn't know he was in that dark place yet. But I would learn as time went on. Just got to know him a little bit better by living with him. He was having some weird people over. He was definitely leaving beer bottles all over the place. That kind of bummed me out, being that I just came off the streets and got this place and worked really hard for my home. Was trying to create a home here just to have him come in and trash it and act like a total scumbag. But I knew he wasn't a total scumbag. I knew there was some good in him, and I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on with him. I didn't know he was in this battle with heroin. I didn't know he was in this dark dimension at the time. Until about 2 or 3 months after living with him. Just had to get to know him a little bit, hear his story, figure things out. It all made sense one day when he called out of work at Steamworks, and he called in, and I had to work for him. So I had to work a double because he called in. And then later that day, he came in to get his paycheck, even though he called in sick. And he had this bandage on his right arm, like his blood had been drawn, or he just donated plasma or something. And our boss was like, hey, yeah, man, what happened to your arm? Like, what happened there? And he says, I was putting up a barbed wire fence, and it snapped off. It cut my arm. For like 2 seconds, I believed him. And then I was like, oh, shit. He's got that on his arm because he has an infection where he used a needle on his vein. Oh, great. That's why he's covering up his arm. He's got an infection from shooting up. Again, I was kind of working through this being young and naive, not really having my third eye yet. I wasn't really able to read people. I wasn't able to pick up on energies or social cues or body language and synchronicities and coincidences. I wasn't really good at picking that stuff up yet. I hadn't developed my antenna for the universe and the cosmos yet. I was just kind of naive and believed him for a while. I'm getting to the story that really changed my life. I'm getting to the most traumatic time in my life. And that's coming up, I believe, on the next episode. Or 2. Things seemed normal at this point. I was working. I had an apartment. I had a roommate. But there was a lot of chaos happening. And we were just seemed to be sweeping everything under the rug. And we were just drinking, working, and moving forward without addressing anything. So we were just not healing. We were not coming up with solutions. A lot of people were in denial all around me, including myself. Again, with the Peter Pan story, this town, man, Durango, Colorado, was just everybody there. Everybody. I would meet 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds. There was just a lot of people that were avoiding responsibility. A lot of people that didn't want to grow up. They didn't want to be old. They wanted to be young and hot forever. They wanted people to want them. They wanted to be envied. A lot of people that were stuck in their youth, just living a life of leisure and pleasure. And they were not growing. They were not offering the world anything useful. Selfish, self-absorbed, vain people. I hope you learned something. I hope you laughed. And I hope this episode made you think. I love you very much. And I will talk to you on the next episode. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're hanging in there. Take it one day at a time and focus on what you have the ability to change and what you have the ability to control. America, this is the Homesick Lone Wolf podcast. I thank you. Go out there and have a special day. I love you. I believe in you. This is your host, John Schaefer. Signing off. Episode 10, Homesick Lonewolf Podcast. Be kind to each other. I love you.